Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Whimsy Wednesday. Each of the Wednesdays during the summer series will be a Whimsy Wednesday day. Today is the 17th of June. Now, some of you might be wondering, what do I mean by Whimsy Wednesday? Well, Whimsy Wednesday is going to include all of the sewing cases, sewing accessories, needle books, pen wipers, all those really cute, sometimes bizarre, very whimsical items of the Victorian era. Some days I will talk about things that I have. Some days I'll talk about things I found pictures of. And then on some days we'll do a little project, okay? I actually think next Wednesday will be our first project. I want to do a strawberry bookmark. Basically because I saw one on eBay and I thought, oh, that's cute, but I can make it better. So we're gonna make a little bookmark. I figured it would be suitable for June because June's strawberry season in my area. And then it also gives everybody a bookmark to have for their summer reading. Which, okay, is admittedly totally a school-based thing. But that'll be next week. Today, I thought I would do a little something I don't normally do. A little PR. So I'm going to share the story of Fanciful Utility. Well, the stories behind it. And then some of the pieces that I have available in my Etsy shop. Okay? Now let's see if I can get through this, because the last two times I tried, a certain little feline tried to dominate the video. All right. So Fanciful Utility, for those of you that don't know, is a book that I wrote while in New Mexico. It was published in 2012. Okay. Now this book is exclusively available through Elizabeth Stewart Clark. She is my publisher. And she's also the one that did the fabulous illustrations throughout the book. So you're going to see, I'm going to guess there's 100 or some odd illustrations in here, in addition to the photographs. So what is Fanciful Utility? As it says, Victorian sewing cases and needle books. And that's really what it is. It is a step-by-step how-to make dozens of projects. From needle books for storing your needles to sewing cases, which include the soft housewives you might hear of, and the more structured cases. Now the needle books can be book shaped or almost any shape, and this book has lots of those shapes in there as well. So the book has several chapters and it has some beautiful color photographs. There we go. Some of the color photos. And then the really cool thing is if you're a beginner, there is this great stitch guide, okay? The second chapter really takes you through the types of fabrics you want to use and your stitches. Here you go. So this is the stitch guide, the stitch primer. So it really shows you how to do each of these stitches and talks a little bit about what they're good for. And these are some of those illustrations that I mentioned that Liz did. They're really great. So you learn all of your basics first, okay? And then it works its way into how to use the book itself. It's going to show you some of the templates and the construction techniques. So these are some of the needle pages. And it really, truly does go step by step of how to do each thing. Let's see. Some of the embroidery. I want to get you to some of the bigger cases. Like I said, there's different shapes. And then this is one of the structured cases. How to do some of the pin cushions. So yeah, it is absolutely packed full of projects. So you can pick up a copy of Fanciful Utility, and you could probably make a project a week for a year and still have some left. Now that I made that statement, I should probably check my math. But I'm pretty sure that's true. But easily you're going to have lots and lots of projects if you have a copy of Fanciful Utility. And the really neat thing is all the techniques in there can be used for other Victorian projects as well. The techniques, the stitches, the concepts work for the sewing cases, but also work for so many other projects as well, which makes it a lot of fun in my mind. Okay, so the stories behind it. It's really a twofold origin in the why part. So there's a story about the first sewing cases that I purchased, and then there's a story behind the enjoyment of making things and sharing making things. So my very first sewing cases were purchased at an estate sale in Nunde, New York, which is a small rural town south in Livingston County. Keep playing with these things. It's where my dad was living at the time. So it was actually my dad, one of my brothers, and myself that stopped at this estate sale. And this was when I was in my 20s. Didn't have a lot of money, paying off the college debts. Paying off the college debts, that sort of thing. And so here's all these great items getting taken out of this incredible late Victorian house. And I remember almost everything was in like shallow tray-like boxes, which made it a little easier because I could take the whole tray up and everything. And I had, did I say I had like $40 on me? And there were lots and lots of really cool things. So among the cool things were these sewing cases. And I just love the fact that they were silk and velvets, and there was some corduroy and then some leather and some ribbon, and the embroidery all combined into these two pieces. And so that's what I chose to buy that day. Those two cases are in my mind kind of the heart of Fanciful Utility. They do come towards the end because they are some of the harder projects. I don't actually want to say harder. They're the more complex projects. There's more components to them. But these are the two pieces that I was able to first study and learn about how these cases went together. The main one is the 4-inch wide pasteboard box with the beautiful silk interior, the leather exterior, and the really nicely embroidered needle pages. Absolutely love that little box. And then the next one was definitely had seen better days. It was more worn. A little bit of crushing was going on, but that's the one where the box is in the center, and then there's the two ends that fold up over. That box, because it was so worn, let me see what the inside looked like, and I could see some of the stitches. So I studied these pieces and really broke down how they were put together and was able to recreate them. So those are the very first sewing case pieces that I was able to template and come up with how they were put together. Now, of course, the sad side of that is I couldn't keep them that long. Like I said, this was back in my 20s. This was back when I didn't have summer jobs, and so summers were tough, and I would have to sell things to get through the summer, and it did reach a point where I had to sell them one year. I do know the one case, my favorite case, did go to someone who collects sewing cases, and I didn't know this at the time. but I've since seen this case in her pictures, and I'm very pleased that that's where it is. So both of those designs are featured in Fanciful Utility. So that's the story of how I Clara, that was bad. Get over there. Thank you. Oh, okay. That could have been tea everywhere. Yeah, the timing of that just kind of threw me. Sorry. She's being a little tough this morning. Okay, so that's the story of how I learned about and fell in love with actual sewing cases. So fast forward a couple years, 2 summers, to a actual summer job. So I ended up with, and it's hard to say ended up with, okay, I'm laughing because, you know how sometimes there's like a perfect match type of situation? That's how I feel about the years that I did summer camp for Pioneer Days for Stone-Tolan. Stone-Tolan House is the oldest remaining building in all of Monroe County. It's a beautiful site. Belongs to the Landmark Society, and this was one of those jobs that really didn't feel like a job. It's the type of thing that you love, absolutely love to do. So, okay, I would develop, the programs, the projects, the things to do with these kids. But the cool thing is the kids, each group needed some customization each week. And some groups, really, really challenged you in a good way because they wanted more and more and more. And so at the end of the day, I would leave thrilled, completely energized. And this wasn't a short trip, because I would go from like the east side of the county. I had to cross the county and into the county I was living in each day. So I'm thinking it was 45 minute drive home, depending on the traffic, because traffic got bad sometimes. But I actually loved the drive up and the drive back. And if you know me, I hate driving, okay? I hate traffic. This was one of those few times that I truly loved it. So I would leave camp and be completely energized by these kids. And as I would drive home, I would have more ideas. How to make the experience even better, how to tweak this project, tweak that project, do this instead. Things that would really particularly match each group of kids. All right, so why am I telling you this? Well, one of the first projects we would do with the kids was a simple needle book. And this was a project that came from the previous instructor. She always started the week, the session, with a simple felted needle book. And I decided to do the same. There weren't a lot of things I kept the same because, I'm me and I tweak things. Nothing wrong with anything she did. It's just my style's always different. If you ever meet me, I do things in a really weird way sometimes. Yeah, that was cat hair. So the neat thing about doing the needle book is it gave me a chance to really watch where the skills were at. Skills and interests of each of the kids, because there were basic things that needed to happen, like they needed to put the pages together, and we attached a button and stuff like that. But otherwise, I left it wide open creativity-wise. You get to finish it, decorate it however you want. So it was a nice opening project. For me, this was the project that really started expanding what I could do with a needlebook, and seeing it evolve in the hands of children really kind of inspired me to want to go further with it. And each of those summers with the kids, we did so many little projects. I really fell in love with the techniques of teaching them because it's so different than what you can do in a classroom. When you have little hands and growing minds and all these different personalities, and you take a simple Victorian project and you mix those together, the possibilities are really endless. So I have to attribute my love for teaching these pieces and putting the directions together to those summer camp sessions. I get messages about how I write directions and thanking me for how easy some of the directions are. And it really truly goes back to summer camp. I write, and it's not really, I don't write for kids. I write for the hands that are doing something new, and knowing that each step needs to be enjoyable, and lead to more possibilities. I don't know if that makes any sense. And it's true for kids, it's true for adults, and so that's how I approach things when I do that kind of writing. And I hope that comes across when I put those things together. So, okay, so that's the story of Fanciful Utility. Show the book one more time. And if you do want a copy, it's over at Elizabeth Stuart Clark's site. So you want to go to thesewingacademy.com, and I'll put the link in, okay? So this is my one piece that's not available on the Etsy shop. You can only get this through the publisher's site, okay? Now let's transition over to some of my Etsy goodies. All right, so after writing Fanciful Utility, it really stuck that I love making some of these things, you know? I'm just trying to bring up the pictures here so I can show you each of these. What order do I want to do this in? All right, so after getting back from New Mexico, I did write several patterns, or have written a few patterns for hoods and bonnets, winter hoods and winter bonnets. Not going to talk about those today. That's a whole other subject. But I kept making little things, okay? So I've always made lots of fanciful utility things and other little thingies that go along with it, thus the whimsies. And, gosh, I don't even know how to get to this one. So life happens, as we all know. And one year, my gallbladder said, I'm done. Okay, and it didn't just go out in a fizzle. It went out in a glorious battle. So, you know, gallbladders do things on occasion where they get stones and they get cranky and then they have to come out. Well, mine not only got stones, it decided to shoot them out at me. So my gallbladder did a bit of damage, and so I was in the hospital for a week. Had 4 surgeries over June, July, August, summer, into the fall. 4 surgeries, crazy gallbladder, blah, blah, blah. Got out of the hospital, and I was spent. And Dan wanted to make sure I didn't dive back into, just not right now. Thank you. Wanted to make sure I didn't dive right back into straw sewing, because frankly my hands are a mess. The needle marks, this hand, the entire back of it was a very not right color. There was an oops. Okay. So I needed a project that would be easy on my hands, help my head. I'm getting claws in my back. Stop. Thank you. And then I needed a chance to make up for all the money that I wasn't making because I wasn't sewing any millinery. And I had recently purchased a type of puzzle ball. And so I recreated the pattern and directions for this one. So this is the one that I call my recovery project. So simultaneously it gave me funds for a while. I had just come out of the hospital. And then it also gave my hands a very small project to work on. And I was at the point where I could make one of these little pillow segments at a time. And yeah, these are little 1.5 inch squares. These are little, but that's all my hands could handle. So a lot of people did buy my pillow pincushion recovery project, and I am beyond grateful that they did. I did take it down for a while, and then the next year Clara Rose had a little tummy incident. We had been worried that she ate thread, but what it turned out to be was she'd gotten herself dehydrated. We tried to put her on a diet. This didn't go well. And her intestines actually knotted. So she had a very expensive surgery. And I put the pinball project back up. And people, again, were amazing and helped out with that. So since then, I have left this up so people can buy it. It's a very simple project. It actually does make a really great cat toy too, if you fill them with catnip. And if you look on my Etsy shop, it's the one with the bizarre green background. Okay, so here's the funny thing about that green background. This tells you like where my energy level was at the time. This was a big piece of foam, about 20 inches by 20 inches by like that thick, that Dan had bought so I could put it over top of me, because Clara loves to jump on you without telling you, and she's incredibly heavy. She's very dense and wanted an extra layer of protection for my stomach. So that is actually what I took the pictures on, and then I tried to piece them together. So that really bad image, that's what that is. And I never did replace that image wise. So that's the pillow pinball pincushion. It's very simple, but of course now I'm very attached to it. And I do enjoy making it. It uses the tiniest pieces too, which is lovely. All right, so what else do we have here? And I should show you this one. Alright, so this one's my most recent. Okay, this is the slipper. This one I actually did during our quarantine isolation. So this is based on an original. The original is in the listing. Okay. This is a really fun project, I find. It's a slipper pin cushion, okay? The original has all the pins going here, but in the directions, I included how to do the pin cushion here, but also how to do the pin cushion here. And then there's also directions on how to add needle pages to the back. And as you can tell from this direction, if you put a ribbon or a loop up here, this would make an awesome gift holder in a Christmas tree if you wanted. So that publication not only includes how to make the piece that's based on the original, but it looks at other slipper and shoe sewing accessories in publications, and then takes this base set of directions and shows you alternate ways to make it. Okay, so it's another one of those projects where, or purchases where you're buying the one set of directions, but you can make lots of different things out of it. Come on, honey. You need to stop. Okay. So that's the slipper. Feels so weird doing this part. Okay, then let's show you the work bag. I didn't bring one of these out. I should have. Okay, so this is the work bag. This is a pretty popular one. So this style work bag shows up for well over a century. Okay, originally it starts out as a reticule in the early part of the century, and it changes in size and materials through the century and into the 20th century. But for the mid-19th century, it shows up mostly as a work bag. And we know it's a work bag because needle pages are often found on it. So this one has a flap on the front, and there's needle pages tucked in there. It uses a decent amount of fabric, but it also holds a lot of things. My very first one of these I made in New Mexico was out of silk and then a leather scrap that I had. And it has become like one of my go-to sewing accessories. It's where I stuff all the pieces that I use when I do straw demos. So it has my little sample pieces and everything in there. And it's an easy grab and go for me. Love that little guy. And it's a good project to practice gauging. You'll notice a lot of my projects I like to have a type of stitching that you're practicing. Alright, so those are the small project how-tos. I have one other one out there right now. This is called In Detail, the Blue Ribbon Sewing Case. Now this one's different in that it doesn't show you how to make it. There's a reason. This is an over-the-top phenomenal example, in my opinion. The entire case is made out of a ribbon. So therein lies the part where it's not an easy project. It would be not very difficult, but it's more of an advanced project. There's enough information in the publication that if you are an experienced sewer, you can make the case more likely out of silk fabric than out of ribbon, but it does not include step-by-step directions. So that's a little bit different than the rest of the pieces that I showed you. All right. I think that's it for today because the video is getting really long. Thank you for listening. And next week we'll work on that strawberry. Have a good day, everybody. Bye-bye.